Well, I hope we're ready now, Joy, because we're on.
Oh, hope so.
Ooh, hey, Joy, what's up?
Hey, nothing much, nothing much. How you doing? How's Ohio this morning?
Ohio is hot and muggy. Hot and muggy.
Okay, same as New
Yeah,
York then.
yeah. You're right. It's similar to. I think we tend to be on the same weather pattern. It's just you get it like a couple days later.
All right,
So
that's fair.
yeah. So if you call us on a Tuesday, uh, you'll know what your weather will be on Thursday.
Well, that's good to know.
I don't know that that's totally accurate, but that's probably as accurate as what our meteorologists tell us. But that's all right. Hey, yeah, thanks for doing this. Speaking of New York, you grew up in New York. You are like a New Yorker,
I'm a New Yorker, New Yorker. Yeah,
like a for real native, born and bred New Yorker.
that's true. Born and raised in Carroll Gardens, Brooklyn.
Yeah. What was that
But
like? Yeah, boy. What is growing up in, because Rain was 2 when she moved to the Rock. And so, she considers herself growing up a New Yorker. But what's it really like?
gosh, I mean, I've known nothing else. But I grew up in like Brownstone, Brooklyn,
Right. Yeah, yeah.
and I was like 20 blocks away from Manhattan, so I probably know more about my little area of Manhattan, Brooklyn rather, and Manhattan. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because we could walk to the Brooklyn Bridge, walk to
Walk
Manhattan.
across. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I knew Coney Island maybe. What else? A few places. But for the most part, it was like the area of like Prospect Park, downtown Brooklyn,
Yeah.
the Brownstone area. Well, I guess there's a few Brownstone areas.
Good zoo in
But
Prospect Park. Good zoo there.
there is the Bronx is better though.
Yeah, true enough. True enough. No, yeah, true enough. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah. But it is a nice little zoo. They upgraded it, I guess, same thing as Central Park Zoo. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
So they are nice.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I mean, you kind of categorize my experience of living in New York. Everybody thinks big city, 8.5 million people, but it's like a small town. I mean, you know about your 20 block radius,
Yeah.
and it's not, and because you shop there, you hang out there, you work there, and everything is kind of neighborhood driven. Would you say that's true? Everything's kind of
Oh,
neighborhood
very
driven?
much so. And I
Yeah.
mean, Staten Island, I live now in Staten Island like 20 something years,
Yeah.
is even more so small town. You know what I mean? That feel. It's like you're in the city, yet you're not.
I can see
But
the city, but I'm not it. Right.
well, no, we are part of it
Yeah, no, I
officially.
know.
You
One
know what
of
I
the
mean?
five boroughs. I know. It's like,
Yes, yes. And people complain sometimes over the forgotten borough, and I'm thinking sometimes it's good to be forgotten. It's just less busy, less crowded, less
yeah,
dirty. You can find parking,
yeah,
there's less cars.
yeah,
But what I did like about Brooklyn was that around the corner was everything. You know what I mean? It was the deli, the grocery store, the florist, the train station was a block away.
right,
My school was a block away, at some point in time.
right.
Um, so that was nice. So Staten Island, of course, you have to go a little further to get stuff, depending on where you are.
Yeah. And we were just talking before we pushed record, you were at the market on the other end and you had the train and that's one thing I miss is like, yeah, you could go get like fresh food. Yeah, I mean, it was always available. You could always go to the market or whatever and get kind of fresh stuff. And that's kind of how yeah, how things were. Yeah.
See, when you were on Staten Island, you were by the train. I spent almost
Wow.
20 years without taking the train at all. I finally took it once one way, almost the end of that 20 years. But now I live walking distance from it,
Yeah. Now that
And it's
yeah,
nice
you're
that,
close to the train now. Yeah.
yeah, it's nice that you can hop on and hop off.
Yeah. But that was I think one thing Rain misses about the city is living in the city. Was riding the train and we were on the ferry all the time and the subway and it's just, that was a way of life for her and she misses that. It's and I do
You
too.
know,
It's always you had to factor in your subway trip, if you were going in the city or something or you had a meeting or something and but
see,
yeah, I mean, it was fun.
there's that nostalgia for the trains. People who are here in the trenches,
Right.
don't look forward to taking the train most of the time.
Right. Yeah. Or the ferry or it's like it's a
No,
grudge.
the ferry I like.
Yeah, yeah. I
Always.
like and because well, I mean, I talk to anybody, and so
Me
I
too.
chat, and people I don't know, people sit next to me, and they feel the need to tell me their life story, and I'm cool with that, and I listen, and I check back, and so it's always fun. The stories on the rides and stuff was always fun to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. When you talk about talking to everyone, a couple of days ago, a friend of mine had to go to the emergency room. Thankfully, she's okay. But
Okay.
as I'm walking out of the emergency room with her, it's a lot of people like on gurneys, like in the hallway,
Yeah.
and just waiting, for a spot or whatever. And so one lady, I started talking to her. I complimented her on her kerchief, and we started talking. And then eventually, I just wished her well, and off we went. And my friend says, "That's nice." And then she goes, "Do you know her?" And I says, "No."
Oh, right. Well,
So I was just thinking, some woman who's by herself in the emergency room. If that was me, I'd like
right.
people to talk to me.
As I'm
you
laying
know?
there, on a gurney, right?
Yeah, feeling a little like, hello, I need help. you know?
Yeah, somebody talk to me. Yeah, that's it. And everybody asks about the city, and it's like, oh, no one talks. That was not my experience of the city. I mean, people were very friendly. Whenever was always friendly, always would be willing to chat. That was my experience, and
I
so
think sometimes I tell people, New Yorkers, it's not that they're rude, it's that they're busy. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
they're rushing.
yeah, yeah.
And in small town, you haven't seen anybody walking down the street, you see a person, you're like, hey, in New York, there's not that, missing of having people around you because they're always there. You can't say
There's
hello to
always people
everybody.
around.
It's
Yeah,
impossible.
yeah,
you
and
know?
that it was true with with what I do with Tai Chi. We were talking about that, and everybody's like, "Well, I'm too busy to do Tai Chi." I'm like, or it's too slow. It's too slow. I'm like, yeah, you're the very person that needs to come to my Tai Chi class because
No, but that's the thing. Exactly. We all
I
need
know,
to take a break and,
yeah,
and
we need
slow
to.
ourselves down. You know what? When I first did Tai Chi, which was before you, I admit, I admit,
I know. I wasn't
um,
first. I know.
yeah, I was doing a wushu martial arts class, and what happened was I had some kind of an injury, I think my foot or something like that. And so, no, oh, it was something else. So, when I went back, they wanted to start me easy, so they started me on Tai Chi, and I just loved the fact that I'm like, wow, it's like we can like, bring it down a notch and kind of, and that was fantastic. Well, I mean, because wushu is very like high
I
energy,
know. Right,
you
right.
know what I
It's like,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I thought it was fantastic, and then I remember being at my last church and I saw a flyer for some Tai Chi class at a sister church. I go, really?
How does that work? Yeah, it's like, yeah,
Well, so I had to go exploring. And I love the fact that there's like a network, you know what I mean, among churches and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah,
So there's more activity than just at one place.
yeah.
And so I went looking and I met this real character, Mike.
Right. Who teaches? Right, right, right. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. No, no, I loved it. I loved it. I know he rues the day that he told me that his wife taught yoga because then I kind of,
Because then you became a yoga person.
I know, and really I should, have stayed diversified. It was just a time issue.
But we did. It was like Thursday nights. Remember, we would do Thursday night Tai Chi, man.
Yeah,
That was
yeah, and
back in the. You're like part of the original crew. You really are. When you're,
wowzers.
yeah, in
Wow,
the
wow. And and the yoga I would do like Friday mornings,
yeah Friday morning.
So it was like I get through the stress of the week,
Yeah,
and that would just
and
help me
yeah,
decompress,
absolutely.
and just
Yeah,
let it all go.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean,
The lifever, both of
yeah.
them. Just
No, I
calm.
think I think you're
I was
right.
doing very stressful work at the time.
Yeah. Well, and then yeah. So you are a lawyer.
I am. I am.
You say that.
It's funny because the last church that I got to, I must have been there several years, and most people had no clue
No
what I
clue what you
did.
did for.
I would tell them I taught, but I wouldn't tell them I was a lawyer. And part of that was, I felt like it was my place of calm.
It's like
you know,
I don't need to be playing my real
well,
job, right?
well, you know what it was? It was just to get away from that
Oh, I know.
facet of
I,
life. But yeah, I did family law for gosh, more than 20 years. I'm on a hiatus for the past 5 years just because I got tired of the fighting, you know. I
yeah,
know I should have been tired of that day one, but I made it through 20 years of helping people with their
yeah,
problems,
yeah,
and just
yeah,
kind of jumping into it. But I reached a point, but actually I'm kind of very glad it happened the way that it did, God works things out
yeah.
because that was spring of 2019. And by spring of 2020, there was COVID. And of
Right.
course it took me time to wind down, you know what I
Sure.
mean? Things that were ongoing. And, I think I would have lost my mind being stuck at home and having people call me up about custody issues and stuff like that when the court's closed. And I mean, even with the
Nothing you
court
could do.
open, they would
Right.
drive
Yeah.
me crazy with the calls. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they were stuck at home together
Yeah.
or, oh,
Yeah.
hey, I did my time. I did more than 20 years. You know what I mean?
With my time.
But
Yeah.
at that point in time, no, I mean, I loved it. I mean, it was my
Yeah.
passion.
I know.
But now, I mean, now I'll do mediation, you know,
Right. And you
And
teach. I mean, you teach law, correct?
oh, and I teach,
Right.
absolutely. I
Yeah. Yeah.
teach, I have intern, I teach the City University of New York.
Right.
Um, gosh, I started 2 weeks before 9/11. So that was
Wow.
an interesting semester because we were right on the other side of the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah.
Um, but I teach. That's my main thing now. It used to be my little side gig. So I adjunct teach, and but I also do other teaching too, you know.
Good.
So I really enjoy the teaching at this point in time. Like sometimes I'll substitute teach for the Department of Education of New York, which I never thought I could do because I don't have an education degree, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wouldn't that be cool? So now I get to kind of just jump in and do it, for a day or a couple of
Yeah.
days or something like that, and different schools and different kids, and I really enjoy it a lot. And
Yeah.
there's not that pressure of dealing with all the rules and regulations and the grading and the this and the that. And, it's just, I'm there for
I'm
the
just
day
come
and
in.
they're
I have
happy.
fun. I leave. Right. It's like
Right. They're happy. I keep the peace for a few days, and that's it. So it really is a nice balance. I only do that like maybe 20, 30 days a year. I
yeah.
don't do it that much.
Yeah.
I teach Sunday school, which I used to do, gosh, like 30 years ago. Is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah, more than 30 years ago. 30 years ago. We'll stick with that. And I did that for like 15 years and I thought I'd never go back to it.
Yeah.
But last year, I'm at a church that had no Sunday school since COVID. And one of the grandparents actually was lamenting that there was no place for his granddaughter to go. And I said, you know what, why can't we do this?
Yeah.
So it's been a year and a half, and honestly, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the best teaching, honestly, at the moment, I think, is we started a few months ago, or I started a few months ago, doing an English as a second language class.
Nice.
When a high school kid, showed up, we have a YMCA like counseling center on site, and she showed up asking about English classes. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, wow, here's this high school kid looking for extra help. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Just
so
to
I
get
said, you know
by.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? We thought about it. Give me your number. And the funny thing is, she only made it the first, second, maybe third session, and then she was working, so she couldn't make it. But it was a group of like 15, and this was just word of mouth. We don't advertise. And after about 3 weeks, somebody at the church who has a nonprofit asked if I could also do adult literacy.
Ah.
So he asked me if I could do an hour of each, but I was like, you know what, let's just do 2 hours, everybody. So everyone
Yeah.
has more time. And the adult literacy is actually a group of, I think, mostly grandmothers, from a country that had civil war, gosh, like 45 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And that disrupted education.
Yeah.
And so here they are learning to read and write as grandmas. And I'm just like, wow, could you imagine going through life and not being able to?
Read
I was
right.
talking to someone the other day about that, and they said, you know what, though, when you don't have one sense, the other ones are strengthened. You know what I mean?
Correct.
And so they were sure they could get by. But it's just so beautiful to watch them, happy to be able to like write their name. I'm like incredulous because we learned that in kindergarten, you
Right.
know? So it's like we have a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah.
But to me, that's like the most meaningful teaching right now is like, people who are trying to learn English and people who are trying to learn to read and write as adults.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were, on the other side of the wall, you've got VBS going on. But I did, we were just
Yes.
saying, but I mean, they're encountering people around the world the way you're doing it. Is,
Yeah. So what happens is my husband has two churches. And so we're in Staten Island. The one in Brooklyn is having VBS this week. And I was lamenting the fact with the Staten Island kids here last summer because we didn't have the church building available on the weekdays
right.
because they were renovating. We used the annex and so for Sunday school, what we do is for the summers, we did Summer Sundays church camp. And so during Sunday school time, there was in July, the theme was beach party. In August, it was rainforest adventure because that was a
Yeah.
VBS thing or whatever. And we go outside and we play sports and stuff like that. And we come inside and, we had the beach chairs, we had water. It was a blue tarp, but anyway. So they could do a
Water,
bunch of,
right. We can pretend.
stories. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was good, and rainforest. I mean, oh my gosh, the whole room was decorated. And so this year I was lamenting that we weren't doing anything because, I couldn't do it this year. I had major surgery in June. I was like, you know what? I just don't have the energy this year. And I first thought maybe we'd do like some kind of like a 1-day field trip, and then that wasn't quite working out.
Yeah.
So yesterday morning it dawns on me, the Brooklyn church is having VBS online. Why can't they join them? And so that's why on the other side of the wall, my husband is on with the VBS and we
Yeah.
invited the kids from here.
Oh, that's so cool. But that is
Yeah.
neat. Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, they have a bunch of kids from, where are they from? Guyana. I don't know where else, but Guyana.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have all these kids from different countries
Cultural
together,
experience. Yeah.
online. I prefer in
Yeah.
person, but that's a benefit of online that you can
No, I
bring
think so.
together totally
You know,
different,
right.
areas. Yeah.
We can be in connection with people, around the world. And that's, when I mean, that's, I think growing up, I didn't have connection with people then on the other side of the river, let alone, around the world. And so, yeah, but that's cool stuff. Which you just alluded to, you are a preacher's wife. What
Yes.
is that life like?
Somewhat newly minted. It's been what,
Some
like a year and a half?
newly minted preacher's wife. But you've been active in the church forever. But I mean, but now it's a new role, a role of being what is it like to be a preacher's wife?
You know, Usually when people ask me, hey, how's it going? Or ask a question like that, I usually say, boy, life's such an adventure. But this week, I mean, I lean more towards thinking, it's a fun adventure.
This
So I
week it's
guess I'm
not so
summer
bad.
relaxed. I'm
Yeah,
summer relaxed.
we have a building we can meet in right now. We're doing
Oh,
good.
well, yeah. The Staten Island church, I mean, before COVID, since COVID, they hadn't met
Right,
because first COVID, but then they had renovations that had to be done.
right.
And so it didn't happen. I mean, they opened up Easter of this year, and there's still little things to be finished up. So the
Yeah,
dedication will be in October, but yeah, it's really nice to actually have
but
a
that's
building.
cool. Yeah, to finally
Yeah.
get back under your house.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Even
neat.
the kids, the Sunday school kids were excited to I don't know, within a week or two, they were out there, in the back giving bulletins, you know what I mean, ushering people in, and they were so excited,
They're
like, hey, this
excited
is
to
new
have
to
people in the
us,
building. Yeah. Oh my
They
God.
never saw that, the little
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah, and I mean, but even before COVID, we and I can say you and I mean, we did community meals out of there, and I mean, just a lot of good neighborhood stuff going on.
Yes, very true. I mean, that's what I liked about the Moravian church. Well, okay, so I didn't exactly join the church. What I did first was I joined the community garden.
Yeah, right.
Because I moved and I was going to be in an apartment and I wasn't going to have my little, one tomato plant in a pot, maybe one pepper plant in a pot, which by the way, sometimes I would have nothing from. I wasn't much of a gardener. But I
Right.
moved like one year in gosh, maybe it's like 15 years ago now, in November, December, and I said, oh well, next summer I won't have anything, And that
Yeah.
spring, in the local paper, the Staten Island Advance, they were advertising this community garden that if you help raise food for Project Hospitality, which is a soup kitchen, food
Right.
pantry, homeless services,
Right.
you can have your own 4 foot by 4 foot plot, and they do square foot gardening, so it's very densely populated and with a trellis, so you have less weeds, and it has irrigation. It waters itself. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was a little leery of going
And a 3 bin
because
compost pot. 3 bin compost.
that's right. And the compost, they had compost on site, and and it was like the whole process. I'm like, first I was like, what's compost? I have to admit. Then I was like, what's kale? Which I love now.
Right. Yeah.
But
Because it's compost. No, it's not. That's not. Yeah.
no, it's great. But what happened was like I was like, oh, but it's a church. Are they going to try to drag me in? I guess I had a bad experience, at the church I used to go to. It's just, they were very, I don't know, demanding, forceful, very, whatever. And you know what? I'm not even going to say anything further because really none of us are perfect.
Yeah. Right.
But it wound up being a situation where for, a few years, I was just like, eh. So I was like, I don't know, what's the deal here, And then I got there and I'm like, why are they not trying to reel me in? What's wrong with me?
Right. What? I'm good enough for the garden, but not for the outside.
It's
Right. Yeah.
like what the hey, right? First I was afraid they were going to drag me in. Then I'm like, hello. So anyway, I actually did wind up joining. It was a nice group of people. But I like the fact that they do like hands-on. You know what I mean? There was the community garden. There's the community dinner, which is, yes, at the church that I'm at now, right?
Right.
What else? There was also a clothing drive and distribution. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
I love
They
that.
still do the clothing drive, the big clothing drive.
They stopped with COVID and they haven't
Yeah.
started up quietly. Sometimes they'll take, because it used to be at Castleton and then they moved it over to New Dorp.
Yeah. Oh
So they'll
wow.
quietly take some stuff sometimes, but no, they haven't gone back to the big
Yeah.
distributions. And
'Cause
part
that
of that
was.
is, people who
Yeah.
left. Yeah.
Yeah. That was huge. I mean, that was a huge endeavor. That
Yeah, because it's
with
like they
the.
tell everyone to clear their closets in the spring. You know what I mean? And then like June, they'd sort everything out. It was so dignified. That's what I really like about it,
Yeah.
is that anything they do is with, dignity for
Dignity.
everyone they're serving,
Right.
And I mean, they would put things on hangers and separate things by like, the sizes for children, this, that, whatever. And then in August, when people are going back to school, they'd have this big gym. And for the distribution, they didn't just say, hey, go look this clothes. You know what I mean? They would have a waiting area. They'd give snacks. They have crayons and stuff for the kids to draw. And then when it's their time to go in, they'd have a personal shopper, you know what I mean? With a basket to help them go look for their sizes and their stuff. I mean, I like the way that they do things very, dignified and hands-on.
Right. Yeah. Well, hopefully that kicks back in, because that was a huge project. I know, for the neighborhood, that was definitely a huge project.
Absolutely. So I like the service projects, but I also like the activities going on at the different churches, because otherwise I never would have met you guys.
Yeah, true enough.
And that's been fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you know, but
I don't know if I know.
You're on the board of Earthandcup.
Oh, I do know. I do. And honestly, like, I've been asked to be on different boards, and I say, yeah, it's okay. But with that one, I was excited because I love what you guys do.
Yeah.
I think that it's so important because, everyone, exactly like you said, people say, oh, I'm too busy for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the truth of the matter is movement is so important, to the body, and so important, and just to like take that time. You know what I mean? To clear your mind and to move your body. And, so I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think in the city, I mean, we went to Moravian Open Door, which is a transitional housing unit in the, Lower East Side, would we say?
Yep.
Yeah. And, I mean, we'd go and we'd cook meals and we'd do movement. And I mean, yeah.
I remember taking a field trip with you guys over there to do movement. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. And people just sat and told their stories. And, we would bring mission teams in and, we'd go and cook and move and do all that stuff. Yeah, it's fun.
Speaking of mission teams, you guys had a team in from Ohio, as a matter of fact.
Could have been.
And gosh, it was a long time ago now. And I think I met one of the pastors at Synod. And we were talking. He's like, we're coming. Is there anything that you guys might need?
Yeah.
And so we got him to come to the community garden. They did some good work.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, like masonry work, like all sorts of.
They did. They put some work into the garden. I know, and it was fun.
Which was awesome. There's still the
teams coming in. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, literally, there's still. What happened was, we had like an angel. Which was there as a remembrance to the lady who started the garden, right?
Correct.
And it was on a certain pedestal, but the thing was just falling to pieces. So I mentioned to the guy, I said, hey, by any chance, and they came prepared.
Yeah.
And at the end, they put cement in the whatever that they made. And they brought glass, like, I'll say glass pebbles, but it's not, like glass stones.
Yeah.
Different colors.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And each person put one in, we all did it. So it's like they became part of the garden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And part of that remembrance of how it all started,
Right. And the garden's still going, yeah?
Garden's still going. Does about 1,000 pounds a year.
Oh. And you're still
I'm sorry, 1,000 pounds a year that we donate. Then there's the personal plots.
That's not even right. I was going to say.
Right.
That's just donated. Right.
Correct.
Most of it still going to Project Hospitality, which is the social service there on staff.
It is. And actually our stuff goes to particularly people who have maybe compromised immune systems or other issues because it's organically grown.
Right. Yeah.
And they might not get that otherwise if they can't afford and so on and so forth. Yes.
Nice. Yeah. And go ahead.
I was going to say with Earthandcup, two of the other things that I remembered besides our regular classes was one when you guys, what did we do? It was like a art and movement kind of a thing, right?
Art and energy workshop. We did it. Yeah, we did
art and energy. Yeah. That was awesome. As a matter of fact, I saw pictures recently. You know what I mean? We did so many different things.
You did artwork. I sent you your artwork. Remember, we waved hands on. We painted. Doing wave hands on paper, and
we waved hands. I painted with my feet.
You painted with your feet.
We did a labyrinth with this in the sand.
Yeah, in the sand. You remember that? Yeah.
What else did we do? We did a lot. It was really cool.
It was
really cool.
It was a good day.
And then there was the retreat.
Yeah. We did that at Camp Hope.
Camp Hope, yes. And there is Donna, who I met there, and she was my roommate, and we are still friends.
From Pennsylvania.
Yes. So that little 3 days that we spent together, was it 2 days, 3 days, whatever it was? I
Yeah.
mean, we still stay in touch, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to do well. We tried to do that same retreat that we did at Camp Hope before COVID. We tried to do it last year here at a camp in Ohio, and it didn't work out. But we're going to try to do it again this fall. So I'm just getting ready
Sounds
to
good.
send
I'll need
information out
advance
about it.
notice. That's
I
a little
know,
further
I know,
away.
I'm a little further out. I know. Last year wasn't for. So I was just thinking this week I need to get some stuff out about that.
Oh,
But we're
that'd
going
be
to try to
nice.
do that same workshop again here in Ohio. It was fun. It'll be fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It really, really was. Like I said, and
Yeah.
it was a good group of people.
Yeah.
And I've seen again not only her, well, her husband, but also someone else from that area, I guess, that came with them. I went to a Tai Chi class maybe last year. My husband was at Synod,
Yeah.
and College Hill Moravian was right up the street.
Was right up the
Maybe it was
street.
the year
Yeah.
before. I don't know. I think it was last year. And so I went to their, it was like a reunion.
That's cool.
So yeah, it was nice to make those nice connections that, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, that we stayed together. And hold it, a really important one, 4th of July, the reunion here, Earth and Cup,
We did.
getting
We got
everyone
people
together
together that we got people together who have
that never
been
met.
together on Zoom for
Uh-huh.
5 years and have never met in person, and they got to meet in person.
That was cool. I
Yeah, that
remember
was
yes, I was greeting someone and I says, "Hey, nice to meet you." And one of you were Tracy, told me like, "Oh, you guys met online. That's so and so." I'm like, "Oh, I remember."
5 years ago. That was so
Like
cool.
you're three-dimensional now.
Three-dimensional. Three-dimensional. And we
But
did
that
the
was really
Chinese,
nice.
we went to the Chinese Scholar Garden and we worked out at the Chinese
Oh,
Scholar
that
Garden.
was so cool.
I
We've
mean,
done a lot of cool things.
we
That's
did a
what I'm
lot of cool
saying. I
things.
think it's really nice to like, yes, the Scholars Garden to do Tai Chi there, and the Scholars Garden, it was done, well, the original ones, in China. The whole purpose was for these scholars, to
Right.
have a place that they can
Place to
reflect
study.
and think, when
Yeah.
there's war and all this stuff
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
And so it was so nice for us to have such a peaceful place to wander through together and experience
Yeah.
together, Yeah, that was
And,
cool.
and you
What,
have a
did you say you're doing
labyrinth.
that one again too?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
Staten
next
Island?
year, next year,
Fantastic.
next year, yeah. But you have a labyrinth at Castleton. Castleton Hills has a labyrinth, bricked labyrinth.
Okay, so here's what happened. Before I knew about the garden, before I knew about Castleton Hill Moravian Church, I'm kind of new to Staten Island. I'm driving along and I see this sign Labyrinth. I'm like, how cool. And it says, come check it out. I'm like, great. So I park my car and I walk into the courtyard and I'm like, where's the labyrinth? I was not familiar with Stone Path Labyrinths at the time.
Right. But now
So I was thinking, I didn't find it. So years later, that's the church I wound up in by chance because the community garden is there.
I couldn't
And
find
then
the labyrinth, right?
and then they're telling me about the labyrinth and they're showing me, and I'm like, so that's what it was. But you know what? Maybe that was a precursor to things, like, hey, you're going to wind up here. Like, you know what I mean? Because I visited it and then I came back and I understood it better.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that you can walk the labyrinth. It's like,
But
the
you can
different
walk the
colored stones on the
labyrinth.
ground, and you
Yeah.
walk around and you follow the
And
path
brick,
so you can
and it's
meditate.
fun, and you do the little path. Yeah, as I could travel around teaching Tai Chi, and there's a lot of places. Yeah, there's always a labyrinth, and my Tai Chi people, hey, Mike, there's a labyrinth. We were in Asheville. I taught in June in Nashville, North Carolina.
Nice.
Like, hey, there's a labyrinth on the other side of the lake, and it was like a 3-mile walk, and I'm like, and no, I appreciate, but you go and you tell me how it is, and I'm just going to sit here. But no, it was fun. It was cool. So now there's a group in my my Tai Chi organization. Whenever we go, because we just started finding labyrinths wherever we were.
But that's it. Now I see them all over the place. I'm like, hey, look, and have a little time and walking.
Yeah, and you get to walk around and
Yeah.
have all that kind of fun. Yeah, and so it's fun. So and we do cool stuff. We do cool stuff. So
Lots of cool stuff.
So, I mean, this is a controversial question. You ready? Controversial question.
Really? Okay, go for it. Let's see.
Why did you move from Brooklyn to come across the Verrazano to Staten Island?
Oh, I can explain that easy.
Oh,
I mean, I spent my first. Well, if I go into numbers, then you're going to be able to count, right? So,
we don't need to do math today. Come on.
right. I spent my childhood and the beginning of my adulthood in Brooklyn. And what happened was when I graduated from school, my first job was in Long Island. And did I have a car by then? Yes, I got my car when I was in law school. So, I had a car. The first week, I think a week into it, it took me 3 hours to get to work.
Yeah.
And I said, this is crazy, which should be like a 45-minute drive.
Right.
There's 2 accidents and forget about it. So for about a year and a half, I stayed with my aunt in Nassau County. And then I got my own place there for about 9 months. And then when I left the job, I left there. But I didn't make it but all the time I'd go home on weekends. You know what I mean? So it was really just to take care of work during the week. But from there, I made it back as far as Jackson Heights, Queens. I didn't make it quite to Brooklyn yet. And I was there for a couple of years because a friend of mine, when I quit the job in Long Island, a friend of mine who didn't even know about that called me up and says, "Want to be my roommate?" It was a 2-family house, and her father and her uncle owned it. The uncle lived downstairs, and she wanted to help her dad out. You know what I mean? So we became roommates, and we rented the top floor. And I was like, okay, and I had just quit the job, so there was no excuse, right? So it worked well. So she became my roommate for a couple of years, and then my mom. Remember, we lived in Brownstone, Brooklyn, so it was apartment living where we were. And so my mom was buying her first house, and she's like, "Are you going to come live with us?" And I'm like, "Mom, I got a place to live. I got a roommate." And I was close to Times Square where I was working at a law firm at the time.
Right.
So I was like, no, and, God took care of that because a month later, my roommate got engaged. They were going to sell the house we were living in, and I left the job in Times Square. So there was, again, no excuse not to go, right? So I said, okay, I'm coming for 6 months, and so I wound up living there for 10 years, and then I got my own apartment for like 12 years.
Yeah.
And now I have a new roommate.
Comes with the whole marriage thing. That's right.
Right. So now it's like, husband, kids, house,
Yeah, right.
So,
right. Yeah. It's like,
so yeah. So that was, but I was at my apartment for like 12 years. So now, that's what got me to Staten Island.
There you go. But that's cool though. Yeah.
But I like Staten Island now. I mean, in the beginning, I didn't know too much. You know what I mean? It was just like, but I love it because I teach in Brooklyn. When it's not online and I have to go in person, I can get to downtown Brooklyn. Right. My sister moved to Jersey, so I can get to her easy. You know what I mean? Right. So, and it's not as crazy as the rest of the city, but I'm close enough. You know what I mean? To get there easily.
You can get to crazy if you want to be crazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
I could get to crazy. But that's good. No, yeah. See, I mean, I think, like I said, I love the city, and so it's, sometimes it gets a bad rap, and I'm always kind of defensive of New York City. It's just not as bad as what people think it really is. And it's like, I've got friends couple that they took their kids there, and they were asking us, telling them where to eat and everything. And no, it's like everybody just needs to go fall in love with town. It's a cool place.
Yeah, and it's funny because when they think tourists, they think, like Times Square and stuff like that or whatever, which is fine, big and bright. And actually, Sunday, I was driving a relative to Port Authority to take a bus. And, we hit some traffic. And there was a last minute plan to take the bus at that time. And so they missed their bus.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, man. But you know what? I was like, you know what? You want to go get something to eat? And usually parking in the city is ridiculous. But Sundays, a lot of places you can find parking. Yeah. So we got a parking spot and we were right by Times Square. And so, I'm like, all right, to me, it's not the most fun area of the city. You know what I mean? But she was looking around like, And as soon as we got to the place, she's smiling, instead of looking stressed like she missed her bus. So it all worked out good. Because what happened was we got our one for like 3 hours later. So, we went, we had some fun. And she enjoyed being, you know what I mean? Where, as a matter of fact, I remember at the place, they said, you want to sit here or there? And she wanted to sit by the window and look at 42nd Street and, and all the busyness, Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Nice. No, like I said, I love the town. So here's the lightning rounds. You ready? Lightning round questions.
Okay, maybe.
Maybe. So, barefoot socks or shoes?
Being the ever practical person that I am, barefoot in summer, but usually in the house.
Okay.
Socks when I want to be warm and cozy.
Gotcha.
And shoes outside.
Shoes outside, right?
Even at the beach, man, because I'm not crazy about sand in my.
Shoes at the beach. Shoes at the beach.
In New York, I don't know what's under the sand.
You don't know what's in the water either, but that's a whole nother story.
Oh, I didn't say I was going in the water in New York.
We go to Jersey to go to the beach if we want to get into.
No, a little further away. Yeah, then I'll, yeah.
So okay, no, I got that. What advice would you give to your younger self?
Uh, you know, on the one hand, right, it would be cool, right, to like kind of have that like, that hindsight, you know what I
Yeah,
mean, and be able to tell it to my younger self. But the truth of the matter is, I think it's a good thing a lot of times that we don't know the full picture
sure.
when we dive in, because I
Yeah,
don't think we would follow through. You know what I mean? If we
yeah,
knew how complicated things were going to get or how difficult it was going to be. But when we push through, not knowing how things are going to go, you know what I mean? We reach
yeah.
that end point is that satisfaction. It's like, wow, I've achieved this. So I don't think I necessarily have advice. You need to go through life.
You just need to just live it. Right. No, I think you're right. Just live it. And and it's yeah, you just go with the flow and it kind of
I
all
mean,
works out.
definitely. Oh, God, I'm sorry.
No, I said it all works out. No, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, it's like, of course, I would tell myself, hey, take things, with more in stride and don't get so stressed out. And sure, because this is my more grounded older self with more experience.
Who's been
But
through all of that, right? Yeah.
yes, but I think we need to experience it in that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm going through it a second time now because my kids, my stepkids, it's like they're in their early 20s,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, what? And I'm like, oh, I used to do that
I
too.
used to, you go to say something, you go, well, wait a minute. It's I sound like
And
my
I'm like,
parents now, right? It's like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
yeah.
And then I wondered to myself, I'm like, boy, I must have like my poor mother. When I think about, because it's like I forget things that I did. I mean, in my
Yeah.
head, I was the perfect little kid. And when I think back about how much I must have, like, you know what I mean, like argue my point with her or felt that I was right, or like, and I'm not saying that they do this. I'm just talking about what I did.
Right. Right.
And I'm just like, wow, like I forgot about what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
it
I
all
think
comes
about how
back.
she
Right. Yeah.
exactly. And I think about how she weathered it, and I'm like, wow, she let a lot slide. So I try.
But yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. It's like I'll let a lot slide. It's like it's all okay. It'll work out. You know. Must watch movies. If there's a movie that, what movie, if it's on, you're going to watch it. What's your must watch movies?
Oh my gosh, there are two movies that I probably watched to the point that I could tell you the whole movie. I could quote it word for word, like
Right?
without even. And that came from like way back in high school even, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it's just one is the iconic. And the funny thing is I think when they made it, they just figured, it was some kind of a whatever, you know what I mean? They had no idea what would
Yeah.
happen. That had such like a following. The Princess Bride.
Princess Bride, good movie.
Yes, yes. I mean, it just, action, adventure,
Inconceivable.
happy ending, and I
Happy.
don't know why, but it's very quotable too.
Yeah, very
I
quotable.
know a bunch of people quote the movie all the time, including
All
my
the time.
mother and my sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another one from around the same time, because I guess back then, I think we had cable, so I don't know why, but I'd watch the same movie again and again and again,
Right. I mean, this is
Whenever I
it.
was sick, I'd watch the same
If you
movie,
watch the movie, right?
So the other one was Benny and June.
Benny and June. There you go.
Did you see it?
No. What's it about? I'm like, no, maybe I need to watch it. What's it
Did
about?
you see The Princess Bride?
I've seen The Princess Bride 1,000.
Okay, okay, okay.
Right,
There's hope
1,000.
for you then. There's hope.
Right, right.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
hope. There's hope. Maybe
Benny
I
and June.
maybe I can get to Benny and June.
There you go. It had Johnny Depp in it, and it was a lot of fun.
Okay. I'll
Yeah,
check
I
it
mean, he
out.
was. Yeah, I mean, it was. I guess about a girl who maybe had some, I'll say, mental health issues. Whatever it was. Her brother was taking care of her, and it was a bit of an adventure taking care of her. And he comes along. He's quirky,
Yeah.
but for some reason, he and her connected, and yeah, it was just a fun movie.
Yeah.
So,
I'll
and then
check it
most
out.
recently, yes, most recently, I saw a movie that I think was timely for me. You know how you see something.
Yeah.
God gives you what you need when you need it.
Yeah.
Kairos. It was called The Color of Rain,
Oh wow. Okay. What's
and
that about?
it was one of these Hallmark movies.
Okay.
But what it was about was it starts out with a funeral. I forget who lost somebody. Maybe it was a lady. The ultimate thing was that there was a woman and a man who both lost their spouses within about a month of each other, and they knew each
Yeah.
other, and they both had kids. You
Yeah.
know, and they got together to kind of get through their pain, help each other through, you
Yeah.
know, and then eventually connected and they were going to get married. And some people felt that, it was too soon or what are you doing? Or, and
Yeah.
gave them a hard time as they were trying to find their way. you know,
Yeah.
and it's based on a true story. And the couple wound up making a foundation. I think it was called New Family Foundation or something like
Wow.
that to help other people. You know,
Yeah.
it was just yeah, it was a good movie. It was a good movie.
Yeah. It was for me, I mean, kind of you talk about a recent movie.
Yeah.
I watched Nona's, which is about a restaurant on Staten Island.
Oh, on Staten Island. Yes, I've been to
Yeah.
the restaurant. I didn't see the movie. How was the
Yeah.
movie?
The movie was good. I thought the movie's worth a watch. I thought the movie's
Okay.
worth a watch. It's a fictionalized version of
Right, right,
the
right,
story,
right, right. Of
And
course.
the thing, I never got to eat there because it's tough to get, it's tough to get in. It's a small place, probably as big as my office, the real
It
place.
is a small place. It is, and I've only been there, I think, once.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, it was her 50th birthday,
Yeah.
and she had mentioned she'd seen it. She lived in Brooklyn, by the way, but
Yeah.
she took the ferry over. A friend of
Yeah.
hers, came over, and we went, and it was good. It was good, And I mean, the thing is, the grandmas back then they were all Italian because it was
Right.
an Italian restaurant,
It's an Italian restaurant.
and they'd
Was, right.
come
Yeah.
around and
Yeah.
they would, greet you, like it's your future grandma's house. You know what I mean?
Right. That's
And
right.
so it was just a nice feel to it, And they come out, how's the meal? How you doing? Whatever,
Yeah.
and it was nice. I mean, they had a standard menu, but then each grandmother, when it was their day there,
They
they'd
make their
have
own.
their menu,
That's great.
what they were making, what they felt like making. But now it's not just Italian. I haven't been there since. I want to go at some point, but now with this movie, I don't know. I'll probably never get in there
You'll
now.
probably never get it.
But
Right.
exactly. But now they have like from like Trinidad, Philippines, like you know what I
Right.
mean? So on any given day, you could have the menu is going to be different.
Right.
And so that's
Right.
really interesting. I like that.
Yeah, that's what I'd heard. I mean, back in the day, it was all Italian,
All Italian,
Nonas,
yeah.
and now it's like Nonas from around the world. So yeah,
Yeah,
you could walk in and any day just have food from around the world, and that's a cool place.
right. I mean, they probably have some Italian staples. Like they did have
Yeah,
the
I'm sure
basic menu, but then there was the
it's
grandma's menu,
it's still Staten Island. It's like right. I mean, yeah,
There's a decent amount of Italian in Staten Island. Of course, down by you, there was even more.
yeah.
I think so.
On that end, of
But
things, right? Yeah, yeah,
as a matter of fact, yesterday I was going down Amboy Road, which is right near where you used to be,
yeah.
and there was an Italian place that's just opened, and it's on, Amboy where there's no place to park. You know what I mean? It's like literally right by what is that? I forget the name of it. So, but I thought about it, and I was like, you know what though? I'm like, chances are because there is walking around in that area at least
Yeah,
because it's a train station and stuff like
yeah.
that. So hopefully they'll make it. Yeah.
Um, bu- books that changed your life.
Huh.
Hmm.
This I don't remember much from like, decades ago,
Yeah,
but there's one book that has stayed with me.
yeah.
Um, I don't remember the author, but it's Man's Search for Meaning.
Hmm.
Have you heard of it?
I have. I don't. I can't remember the
Oh,
author, but
wait. I think it was Viktor Frankl.
it could
Is
be.
that right?
Could
That could
be.
be.
Could
That
be.
could be. And it was
Convenient.
about, World War II
Yeah.
and how, when people were in concentration camps and stuff like that, it's like psychologically
Yeah.
what you had to do to keep yourself going.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
um and it was just like wow. Because I mean we get all thrown off when we have some stress in our life or
Yeah.
something comes up and we know we're not ourselves. Now imagine when your whole being is threatened, like you know what I mean, your existence. And how do you keep going from day to day, when
Right.
there's no food, no amenities, no, I mean, how do you keep going,
Yeah.
and so and it was those who um well, obviously circumstance might have dictated things, but
Yeah.
aside from that, it was those who could mentally get themselves in the right place, you
Hmm.
know what I mean, to
Yeah.
really find meaning, you know what I mean, in their
Yeah.
lives when they're stripped of everything, and it was
Yeah.
just like wow. So there's that one.
Cool.
I really enjoyed it. A few years back, somebody gave me a book called The Book of Joy, and I'm like, oh, haha, because I'm Joy, they gave me the Book of Joy. And but it's really cool. It was written by the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu.
Correct.
Do you know the book?
I know the book. I've never read it, but I know the book. Yep.
Yeah. So the two of them, I think they only met maybe a couple of times, but they were good friends. Like literally only met a couple of times, but
Right.
yet maintained it.
Still good friends.
And when they were about 80, they got together and spent a few days together, and it's just really
What's
nice
this
because
book? Right. Yeah.
yeah, it was two different religions, you know what I mean, and their take on what it takes to have joy and
Yeah.
what, you know what I mean, not joy as in a name, but joy as in the
As in
concept,
the feeling. Yeah.
and I really, really enjoyed the book. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think since law school, it's hard for me to read books. Like I'll read a magazine, something short, because I have to do so much reading that I I just
Okay.
kind of got, um, but so I had that on my nightstand, and it must have taken months, but I enjoyed doing it in little chunks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Read a
So
little bit.
yeah,
Just read a section a day. Just do something,
yeah, yeah. And then I did read a book in the past, maybe it was last year. It's called Navigating the Heart,
Okay.
and it's by, I think his name was Aksu Kim. He's Korean. Is Korean. But anyway, it's a whole bunch of like stories and vignettes, about um I think it was written more towards youth, but anybody can, you know what I mean? And he's
I get
written
it.
other books
Yeah.
too. But this was like the one that I just happened to cross in the house, and I go, And I started reading it, and I really, really liked it. Because, a lot of times people talk about mental health
Yeah.
and stuff like that or whatever. But this talked about how people's hearts flow into each other, and, and what could get in the way of that flow.
Right.
And just it's kind of taking emotions and taking all that stuff, but talking about it from the heart. And people like to talk about the heart. People don't like talking about the head.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a really cool book. I want to do a book club on it at some point in time.
Oh, good for you. That'll be
Yeah, it
fun.
was just really cool.
That'll be fun. If you could do an Olympic sport, summer or winter Olympics, what event would it be?
Oh, in my dreams and not held
In
by
your
my own
dreams, right? I mean,
capabilities, right?
if all things being available to you,
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. I would have to say kind of like that childhood dream of like,
yeah,
gymnastics or ice skating.
yeah.
Mind you, I can't ice skate. I mean, it's been probably a decade or two since I've
I,
tried, and I
my
cling
only
to the
time,
side.
yeah, my only time was on Staten Island and it was a bad experience, and so I'll
I'm
never
sorry.
do it again.
Well, when you say bad experience skating, I remember one time being in the city with my sister and some friends, and I was holding onto the edge with
Yeah,
both hands, not moving. And somehow I started to go forward and did a complete somersault and landed on my back. And I'm like, I really had no
in
idea
the
how it
middle of
happened.
Rockefeller Center. Here we go. Here I am.
No, no, no. I think it could have not Rockefeller. No, maybe it was Central Park. I forget where it
Central Park.
was.
Yeah.
But I
Oh,
remember
good.
the experience. Yeah. But when you mentioned Olympic sports,
Yes.
in 2008, I think, when they were having the Beijing
Yeah.
Olympics,
2008.
I had just joined the wushu martial arts at that point in time.
Yeah.
And that was because the year before I went to Disney World, Universal Studios, I think. They had a Star Wars day. And I was there with a couple of friends. And I saw one of the stuntmen from Star Wars. And
Yeah.
he was showing how he did stunts and this and that, flying through the air and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, I want to fly through the air, that kind of thing. And I remember they talked about some martial art, and I'm like, what was that? Because you know some of them, and I'm like, that didn't sound familiar. And I came back, and I was in I think a Chinese restaurant one day, and I saw a thing in the front for wushu, and I go, that's it. So I went, for exercise. I wasn't going to compete. I was going for exercise,
Right. Right.
and it was fantastic. I mean, they'd fly through the air. I'd maybe fly a little, but I really, really liked it a lot. But when I got there, it was run by two kids, a sister and a brother. The father oversaw, and the girl was going to the Beijing Olympics because on the Olympic team for wushu, because it was a showcase sport
It
that
was an
year.
exhibition sport. Yep.
There we go. There we go. So I thought that was so cool, and I remember how like she would train. I mean, because of course it's serious training for the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
And what she would do is she had these weights on her legs, so that when she's flying through the air, or this or that
Right.
or whatever, that's how she's training. So she's going to do it all the better, when she
When she
takes that
takes
off and
weights
she's
off.
really competing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so she came back with her Olympic jacket and her
Yeah.
medal and all this stuff, and I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
that's going to be me. Yeah, right.
So how long did you do wushu?
Oh, about 3 years maybe.
Good for you.
And that's when I first experienced Tai Chi. When I had
Because
to take
it's
a little
connected.
break for medical reasons and I came back,
Right.
they says, let's do some Tai Chi for a little while. And I was like, hey, this is cool. And so that kind of opened the door. So that when I saw the flyer for Earthandcup Tai Chi, I'm like, oh, Tai Chi, let me go check this out. Because I didn't do that
Yeah.
much with them.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, wushu's pretty cool. I mean,
it is.
a Chinese martial art kind of part of the kung fu family-ish type thing. And so, yeah, it's kind of fun.
And it had me, kicking almost as high as a rocket. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, hey. I mean, because that's part of
I
what
think
they did is a lot of
almost as
flexibility,
high as the Rockettes. Yeah, but that's cool stuff.
Well, maybe it was as high, but I don't want to
Yeah,
like, you know
I'll
what I
bet
mean?
you
Because
was. I'll bet you
Rockettes are Rockettes. Hello. Also a New York institution.
also a New York institution that, right. So speaking of the Rockettes, what kind of music do you listen to?
Ah, well, when I'm in my car, it used to be I couldn't drive without listening to music, by the way.
Right.
Yeah. But when I'm in my car, and sometimes I can leave the radio off now, I usually have Christian contemporary music on, a little
Yeah.
inspiration for the journey, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so like K-Love, 99.1 Star FM, those are the ones that we have here.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, I mean, I like popular music. Last night I went to see someone in the nursing home, and he always has doo-wop music on, like the golden oldies from the
Yeah.
50s. And I left, and I didn't even need the radio. In my head, and actually I was singing out
Like a
loud, not even in my
doo-wop.
head.
Yeah,
I
there you
loved
go.
it. I think part of that is they say that whatever music you listen to like in high school and in your
Yeah.
teen years
Yeah.
is going to have the strongest emotional impact on you,
Yeah.
and positively.
Yeah.
And when I was in high school, we did like our senior year, one of our gym class options was social dancing. So I learned how to cha-cha and Lindy to these songs, these doo-wop songs. And so I
Woo!
really love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're just
Yeah.
cheerful.
That's interesting.
But,
Go ahead. Yes,
okay.
ma'am. No, you go ahead first.
Oh, I was just going to say I like lots of music. I like pop. I like
Yeah.
reggaeton, which is reggae mixed with Spanish music,
Yeah.
But my stepson, Josh Neal, he plays lots of different things. It does a lot of jazz,
Yeah.
and I love listening to him whenever he plays, or steel
Yeah.
pan,
Yeah.
piano, guitar. He does a bunch of things, but so I always enjoy listening to him. But I like all kinds of music, really,
Yeah. Talk about steel pan.
except
I
like
mean,
headbanging music, because that's a
yeah.
little too much for me. I need
Yeah. I
calm.
mean, the Moravians there in New York City, there's a lot of steel pan coming out of that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and it reminds me of the islands, like the Caribbean. You know
The
what I
Caribbean's
mean?
right.
Which is where it comes from.
Yeah,
So.
it's just pretty cool. Yeah, I was going to say that it's interesting. So I won't give you the numbers, so we're not doing math on this show.
Oh, good.
But it's like the music I grew up listening to in high school is now coming back, and the kids are all listening to it again. And I'm always like, but it's all redone, but it's I don't know, whatever. I don't know what that's all.
It's true. It's nice to hear this stuff come back again. You know what I mean?
In a
Or they
different
remake movies.
Right. I mean,
Do
they're
that a lot
remaking
too.
all of our movies. There's like, we're going to remake The Breakfast Club. And I'm like, please don't.
Oh,
Please.
really? Interesting. I think it's funny when like my niece and other people like, in their early 20s and stuff like that are like, oh, Friends. And I'm thinking, didn't that go off the air when you were like born?
But it's all streaming now. Everything's available.
Oh,
Everything's
yes.
streaming. You can watch all kinds
Yeah.
of crazy things.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
wow.
That's cool.
Thorns and roses. So thorns and roses. Thorns are challenges. Roses are successes. So what is your kind of what thorns and roses for you? Either now or in life, or however you want to answer that.
Yeah, there's always challenges. I mean, we look at them as an opportunity to solve a problem, right?
100%.
I would say that one that was a formative one was growing up. I guess my dad wasn't too interested in parenting. And so my mom was a single mother, and my father had issues which affected everyone when he was there.
Yeah.
Not constantly, but you know what I mean?
No.
A swath of time,
Right.
And I would say there was, trauma and drama that probably was. That's why I went into family law, was to help people with family problems.
Right.
And that's why I was very passionate about it, because it's like, I know what it can feel like, you know what I mean, when you feel vulnerable and helpless, or and so it was important to me to protect people and to help people through the most difficult part in their life and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now, being married to a pastor and being involved in the two churches, I much prefer mediation and being involved in the churches. You're still helping people with family problems. Plenty.
The 100%. You just don't have to go to the courthouse, but
right.
You're still totally emotionally involved with it all.
Exactly. I don't have to get yelled at by judges anymore. And by the way, I would get yelled at when I was completely right. I had done nothing wrong, and I'd be getting yelled at, and I'm like, well, what happened? Sometimes it was my client. I've told them something and they insist. I'm like, okay. And then I remember one time I had a client and he insisted on something, and we're in the back of the courtroom. So, we're all the way last row, not even up at the tables, last row sitting down. And the judge, we had handed in paperwork, that says he was not agreeing to such and such. And I told him, listen, there's no way around this. You know what I mean? And so the judge was in the middle of something else. The people move away from the tables, and he looks at this and he calls the name of the case. And he goes, you're not agreeing to such and such, and he's yelling. There's a room full of people, mind you. Okay. And he's yelling and he's like, and of course they're usually like, counselor, of course it comes to me, you know what I mean?
Right.
Meanwhile, what did I do? I was trying to talk him out of it, So anyway, so he's like, oh, da, 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 and and so fine, he finishes. And the entire room, of course, has been paying attention to what was going on. And later on, we go up to the tables when it's our turn for a conference, and he calls the attorneys up for a sidebar up at the bench. And the first thing he whispers is to me, I helped you out, right? And I'm thinking, I had to learn to just tolerate getting yelled at,
Yeah.
Another time I went to court and I had a client, and what happened was her husband had quit his job to go for a job that was making about a third as much. And the thing is, if you voluntarily do that, they can impute income to you for the full amount. You know what I mean? Because you look to make less money and you have kids to support. So I told her, listen, don't worry. And even a hardship case it wouldn't have been, because where he left, they gave him a severance package for a few years. So he was going to be making up the difference for a few years.
Right.
And then at the other end, he was going to, rise pretty quick. So it was going to be okay no matter what, but he figured he had it in the bag, So I go in with her and I says, don't worry about it. It's going to go absolutely fine. And I go in and this judge, because he was representing himself and I was representing her, I guess the judge wanted to make the husband feel that, you know what I mean, that he was getting a fair shake, you know what I mean, that he didn't need an attorney. And so she's yelling and screaming about me. Did you look at this? Did you look at that? And I'm thinking, what I got to look at? I know that he doesn't have a leg to stand on, but I didn't say that way, of course. And I go outside and my client is shaking. She goes, Joy, is it going to be okay? And I'm like, it's going to be absolutely fine. But this judge had her rattled. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But I'm sure it was just intending to put the man at ease,
Right.
So yeah, I don't get yelled at anymore.
Cool.
In court.
So roses. So what roses? What are successes?
Well, that I was able to help people in that way for like 2 decades.
For 2 decades.
And when I look back now, I go, wow, how'd you do that? But so that 20-something years that I've been teaching in college, and it's nice to have been able to help people. Gosh, and that's even been 20 years with internships and stuff like that, like practical learning experience with the law firm and stuff like that. And actually still doing that, because since COVID, kids are having a hard time getting internships. Right. And so instead, because I don't want to, be doing things in court anymore, what we do is we kind of help people on like a pro se basis. We'll do some research, we'll give support, and stuff like that. And that gives them the experience, and we help somebody in the process. Other successes. I remember when I wanted to go to law school, and it was really just because I wanted to help people. It was either that or I was going to become a social worker. But I figured law school, maybe instead of telling people this is how it is, I'd be able to, make change. Yeah. That was my thought at the time. Yeah. Both of them are great options, really, but I wound up in law school, and, but going to law school, I was afraid that I wouldn't get in, and they told me, you have to have an A average. Well, they told me I had to either be an English or a political science major, and politics doesn't interest me at all. Yeah. So I said, okay, I'll do English, but I'll do more like creative writing, Yeah. And so I was really very laid back, poetry, la, la, la. And maybe a little too laid back, Yeah. So they told me I needed an A average. I want to say, I think I graduated with like a B or a B minus or something like that. And, but you know what? When I got my acceptance letters, I got into the school I wanted to go to, but then St. John's offered me a full ride, and I got a note from the dean in it, and I'm like, need an A average, huh? I had scored well on the admission test, and so like in the 95th percentile or something like that. Yeah. So that helped me tremendously. But and don't get me wrong, again, my laid back self after the first. Well, no, it wasn't just laid back. My grandmother, who was kind of like our nanny, if you will, growing up, she had brain cancer. She was diagnosed just before I started law school that summer. Yeah. And then it came back the following summer, she passed. But only now can I look back and say, oh, that probably affected me, huh? At the time, you know what I mean? Like, and this was like the matriarch of the family, like, this was traumatic. But I guess I wasn't seeing the forest for the trees there, Yeah. So after the first year, I lost my scholarship. And I probably could have even appealed it, but I didn't, so I just got loans. But I hadn't planned on going to that school. I wanted to go to Fordham Law, which accepted me, but I didn't know what they were going to offer me financially just yet. And so, it got me to where I should be. I have friends from there that were very close still, and, and it was a very service oriented school. And so, sometimes things happen well, always things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how sometimes even something that we're like, oh, you think it wasn't going your way, and it really
Yeah.
was, you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, yeah, yeah. So getting into law school, that was
Yeah.
a
Good.
success.
Yeah.
Getting through law school, getting
Another
past the bar
success.
exam.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, those were very difficult times, and also, just like life experiences. I know some people, have addiction issues and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, my parents, this and that, and whatever, and I really am thankful that rather than having a pity, not say a pity party, but
Right.
rather than focusing on oh poor me or getting stuck in a cycle or something like that, I'm thankful that was able to take that and use it to help other people. Because like, when we go through experiences, and I've been through a lot of crazy experiences. But, especially when I was doing family law, I could use them to tell people stories, so that either they feel like, oh, I'm not the only one this happened to, or they feel like, well, at least it's not as bad as what she went through,
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And even with college students, you know what I mean? It's like they come and they're struggling. They're, first generation college student and stuff like that, and different problems that people go through. And we have so many experiences we can draw on to share with people to let them know it's going to be okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
Nice.
mean, storytelling is powerful,
Yeah.
and when it's true stories, even more so, you know?
I tend to make
So,
mine up, but that's um
oh yeah, I like that too.
so we are, and this is a royal we. We are Earth and Cup. So Earth, what grounds you? So what grounds you?
That's an easy one because first and foremost, what grounds me is my relationship with God and faith.
Yeah.
Because I could be all over the place, and I know that as I'm getting in my own head and trying to do things on my own. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, um, my dad, and whenever there's any kind of an issue, you know what I mean? It's like, or I don't know how to do something or what to do,
Yeah.
start praying, and sometimes when you're praying, it's like you're also calming your mind. You know what I mean? And so you'll
Right.
have these breakthroughs, whether it's God talking to you or a breakthrough or whatever it is. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, this is what I'm going to do. And it becomes very clear and you have that clarity.
Yeah.
And so that grounds me far and away, far and away. Yes.
So the cup is this notion of we are a cup and our cup gets filled and we have to empty it to get refilled again. So what fills your cup and how do you empty it to be refilled again?
Let's see. I mean, sometimes in a sense, because I'm looking two different cups almost. I'm looking at like, like when my cup gets full of too much negative stuff, too much stress, too much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how I kind of let that out. One is prayer, of course. Another is I like to walk things off. You know how Forrest Gump, he started running and just didn't stop? Okay, I'm not a runner. But sometimes when something's really like I become a bundle of nerves, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Literally, I do have a pinched nerve. I realize that's a real saying now. So I need to be calm. So when I start to feel numbness, I know there's too much stress building up. So it's like, you know what?
Right.
We have to exercise. We have to calm, which is good. It's like it takes a temperature for me and lets me know what's going on,
Good for
which is a good
you.
thing. Yeah. So I like to walk things off. I like to be in nature, to move because it's like, you know what I mean? You're absolutely. So I would say that that's very helpful, meditating, clearing my mind,
Yeah.
doing things that interest me. I remember when I used to get ready for a trial, I might have been prepping for days, but the night before, I'm just going to cook a nice, long, slow meal because it's just so relaxing to like cook and then you enjoy the
Yeah.
meal, So it's like self-care. Self-care is like, that's what helps me empty my cup, but that's what helps me fill it too. You know what I
Right.
mean? And be
Yeah.
prepared for whatever's going to come and whatever I need to do for people. I know, especially I knew it with family law because it was intense at times, and things bubbled up for a case, for a few weeks and stuff like that. And as much as you try to stay emotionally detached, you start thinking, oh my gosh, but, the kids can't be in that situation, this and that, you know what I mean? You can't completely
Right.
detach yourself. And so as much as I did try to separate myself from things, it wasn't always easy. And of course, I just lost my train of thought.
Well, it's okay. We'll wait.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
filling your cup, emptying and filling your cup. That's okay.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So what would happen is if I was not feeling well, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I couldn't do a thing for anybody. Like I had to be, my cup had to be full in that way. You know what I
Correct.
mean? For me to be able to help others and to do things for others. And when I didn't feel well, I just had to shut down completely. I couldn't help a soul, you know, and sometimes if I didn't feel so good, I would cancel a court date. And the reason is this: it's almost like a lion smelling blood. Like, you know what I mean? They pounce. Like, you
Right.
know what I mean? They sense weakness or they sense, that you're not on top of your game. So it's like I had to be in game shape to do what I was doing. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so self-care was like so important because if things weren't good with me, I can't help others.
For you.
But keeping that in mind, I did this thing in the fall. It's kind of like depression awareness,
Yeah.
and it was geared towards faith leaders. And the idea was, helping, I guess, training the trainers to help people recognize when people might be depressed, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and getting them to resources and getting past the stigma of mental health and stuff like
Right.
that. And yes, and I lost my train of thought again.
It's okay. Train the
Um,
trainers, depression,
oh
self-care.
yes, yes. So here's the thing. So somewhere along the line, I forget who it was talking about the fact that, if you're depressed, one of the best things to do is to help others. Because when you're serving others, when your focus is outward, it's not on yourself. And
Right.
depression is really getting inside yourself and not being able to get past something.
Right.
And that the other part of that is it's important to be present in the moment because if you're fixated on the past, you
Right.
can get depressed maybe. And if you're fixated on the future, you might get anxious about what might happen. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So being able to like be present where you are, and
Yeah.
fully experience it.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's very important, you know what I mean, to remember where you come from and to honor history and to,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it's very important. I'm not a big planner. I'm a very spontaneous person, but I understand now that I really do need to plan for the benefit of others and
Oh,
myself.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yes. But with flexibility, of course,
Right.
because, everything changes. So, you know what I mean? We need to have that flexibility, otherwise we lose our minds.
Yeah.
So we do need to look towards the future and we do need to look towards the past. But when you
Yeah.
fixate, it's a different story. So I think it's just like when you give a gift, you're giving it to benefit that person. But how much do you get out of that? That, you know what I mean? You feel good that
Yeah.
I helped them, or, oh, I made them happy, so, service to others and doing for other people and looking to how
Yeah.
you can help other people helps ourselves, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
I
Well,
really think.
I want to thank you because you are a gift to Earth and Cup. You are a
Oh,
gift
you're
to the
so kind.
church. You're a gift to the kingdom. No, you truly are. And I just want to thank you
Try
for
to be.
everything you do for everything. And it's always fun to hang out. And yeah, we'll have to go to Coney Island next time. We'll
Well,
plan.
thank you. And yes, Coney Island sounds like a plan. We can
Yeah.
walk the boardwalk. I
We
can't
can walk
walk
the
the sand. Don't
boardwalk,
forget.
right? We
Yeah.
can walk the
Yeah. Yeah.
boardwalk. We're going to
Yeah.
call. But thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and
You're
yeah,
welcome.
blessings, and yeah, I this was fun. This was
It
enjoyable.
was. It's always a pleasure talking to
It's
you
always
and Tracy and just getting together and doing stuff. So we got together virtually.
yeah, virtually. There you go. Well,
Yes.
and stay safe. And it's hot. Hydrate. It's going to be hot today,
I know.
so
That's
hydrate.
important. Yeah. We don't realize. And by the time we're thirsty, it's probably too late. So we
It's
got
too
to make
late.
sure we
It's too
hydrate.
late.
Yeah.
It's too late. Then
Yeah.
you should have hydrated. Thanks, Joy.
All right. You're welcome. Take care.
Bye.